Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra is the killing curse, a spell that embodies the darkest side of wizardry. Its purpose is simple: to end life instantly, without pain and without defense. The caster's goal is absolute, domination through death. It requires no physical damage, no wound, and no visible mark, which is exactly why it strikes fear so deeply. What drives its creation and continued use is the pursuit of unchecked power. For those who believe their authority is unquestionable, Avada Kedavra is the ultimate tool to silence opposition. The obstacle, however, is not the spell's complexity. Unlike many advanced charms, it demands no intricate wand movement, no elaborate incantation beyond the words themselves. The real barrier is moral. Only a wizard fully intent on murder, with a will strong enough to desire another's end, can produce it. This means hesitation, doubt, or conflicted feelings render the curse useless. That requirement makes it both chillingly simple and uniquely unforgiving. The stakes are immense. Misuse brands a wizard as irredeemably dark, while success leaves irreversible consequences. There is no counter curse, no shield charm that can block it. Hogwarts forbids it not just because it kills, but because teaching it would normalize an act that corrodes the very idea of magic as a force for knowledge and protection. Crucio. Crucio, the Cruciatus curse, is designed not to kill, but to break. Its purpose is to inflict unbearable pain on a victim, bypassing both body and mind's natural defenses. The caster's goal is pure domination through suffering, forcing compliance, extracting information, or simply expressing cruelty. For dark wizards, the motivation is control. Pain becomes a language, a way to remind the victim of their helplessness. The difficulty lies not in the mechanics of the spell, but in the psychology of the caster. To cast Crucio effectively, the wizard must genuinely want the target to suffer. Any hesitation, pity, or divided intent will weaken the curse, turning it into little more than a sting. That emotional demand separates ordinary duelists from those willing to step into the depths of sadism. The stakes are horrifying. Sustained use of Crucio can cause permanent damage, shattering sanity, eroding identity, and leaving the victim in a state of irreversible torment, as seen with Frank and Alice Longbottom. Hogwarts forbids its teaching because normalizing torture would poison the foundation of magical ethics. Beyond killing, Crucio demonstrates the capacity for cruelty that magic can enable, and that lesson is too dangerous for students to practice, let alone master. Imperio. Imperio, the Imperious Curse, is one of the most insidious pieces of dark magic ever created. Its goal is not to wound or kill, but to strip away free will itself. When cast successfully, the victim's mind is overridden, leaving them a puppet who obeys without question. The caster's motivation is absolute control, whether for forcing obedience, committing crimes through another's hands, or ensuring loyalty without choice. A strong-minded witch or wizard can fight the curse, though doing so requires immense focus and mental strength. Most, however, succumb easily, their thoughts dulled until they follow commands as if they were their own. This duality, its seeming simplicity versus its hidden weakness, makes Imperio both terrifying and fragile. Under its influence, victims may commit atrocities without awareness, yet they remain legally responsible. During Voldemort's rise, Imperio was the weapon that blurred guilt and innocence across the wizarding world, leaving courts unable to separate true allegiance from forced obedience. At Hogwarts, the curse is forbidden because it corrupts the very foundation of identity and choice. To teach it would be to sanction slavery of the mind, something more dangerous in many ways than death itself. Fiendfire. Fiendfire is a living inferno, conjured flames so powerful they take on the shapes of beasts that hunt and consume anything in their path. The spell's purpose is destruction on a scale few other magics can match. It devours not only flesh and bone, but objects imbued with magic, even Horcruxes. Those who dare summon it usually seek absolute annihilation, whether of enemies, evidence, or entire places. The problem is control. Once released, Fiendfire answers to its own hunger more than to the caster's will. Only the most experienced and reckless dark wizards can hope to guide its movement, and even they risk being consumed by the blaze. What makes it even more dangerous is its persistence. Ordinary water or extinguishing charms cannot touch it. The fire grows, shifts, and adapts, turning an intended weapon into a rampaging force of nature. The consequence of failure is total devastation. In moments, Fiendfire can reduce buildings, forests, or entire battlegrounds to ash. At Hogwarts, teaching it would be unthinkable, not because students lack the power to summon it, but because once unleashed, no classroom wall could contain the chaos. To study fiendfire is to stand at the edge of a cliff, knowing that one slip could burn everything to the ground. Sectum Sempra. Sectum Sempra is not an ancient curse passed down through grim tomes, but the invention of one student, Severus Snape. Conceived during his school years, the spell's purpose is violent precision, invisible slashes that cut into flesh as if a sword had struck. Its intention was never defense but attack, designed by a young wizard fascinated with power and vengeance. The motivation was deeply personal, an arsenal for someone who often felt powerless, a weapon that could wound without warning. The true danger lies in its effect. Unlike a jinx or hex, Sectum Sempra doesn't simply stun or disarm, it maims. The victim bleeds heavily, and without immediate magical intervention, the wounds can be fatal. Even Snape was one of the few who understood how to heal the damage, leaving others helpless once the curse struck. This imbalance between how easily it can be cast and how impossibly difficult it is to undo makes it uniquely perilous. If misused, the outcome is brutal. Harry Potter himself learned this in his duel with Draco Malfoy, where a moment of desperation nearly turned to tragedy. Hogwarts bans it because it is a blade disguised as magic. Teaching it would not just risk injury, but encourage students to wield lethal force in moments where restraint is needed most. Mors Morta. Mors Morta, known as the Dark Mark, is all about terror. When cast, it projects the skull and serpent emblem of Voldemort and his Death Eaters into the sky, often over sites of murder or destruction. Its purpose is psychological warfare. It announces presence, instills fear, and serves as a rallying signal for loyal followers. For Voldemort's army, the motivation was clear. Wherever the Dark Mark appeared, it meant dominance, death, and dread had arrived. What makes the spell so dangerous is not its technical complexity, but its symbolism. Unlike the Killing Curse or Fiendfire, Mors Morta does not physically harm. Instead, it weaponizes fear itself. The mark in the sky is an omen, a promise that violence has occurred, or soon will. Even after Voldemort's fall, the appearance of the Dark Mark sparked panic, showing how a spell could linger in collective memory long after the war. Infurious Animation. Imagine walking into a cave and seeing the dead rise from the water. Empty eyes, stiff limbs, and no hint of humanity left. That is the work of Infurious Animation. This spell does not resurrect but corrupts, binding corpses into servants that move only at their master's command. For the wizard who wields it, the attraction is clear. A tireless army, immune to fear, hunger, or pain. Yet what looks like strength hides a grim truth. These puppets cannot think for themselves, and to maintain control over many requires dangerous precision. A single lapse can unleash chaos, as the dead know no loyalty, only orders. Fire is the only force that drives them back. Ordinary charms are useless, which is why Voldemort filled the waters of his Horcrux cave with them, knowing terror alone might drown intruders before a duel even began. At Hogwarts, this kind of magic is unteachable not because students lack the skill, but because it strips dignity from the dead. To turn people's loved ones into weapons is a cruelty that crosses every boundary of magical ethics. Horcrux creation. To split a soul is to wound it beyond repair, and that is exactly what Horcrux creation achieves. The spell is never written in detail in any public text, for even describing the process is considered too corrupting. What is known is that it requires murder, the act of tearing life away, to fracture the soul. Once broken, a fragment can be bound into an object through dark incantations known only to the most depraved. The lure is immortality. A wizard who succeeds cannot truly die while their Horcrux exists. But the cost is terrible. Each act leaves the soul weaker, more grotesque, and less human. Tom Riddle's pursuit of this spell drove him to split himself into 7 pieces, and though it kept him from death, it left him diminished, warped into something less than a man. The danger lies not only in its making, but in its undoing. Destroying a Horcrux requires destructive magic strong enough to annihilate the soul fragment inside, often destroying the vessel as well. At Hogwarts, the practice is forbidden because it represents the ultimate perversion of magic, turning knowledge into a tool to bind oneself unnaturally to the world. If even whispered in a classroom, it risks planting an idea that could unravel everything wizardkind stands for. The Unbreakable Vow. Few spells embody finality as sharply as the Unbreakable Vow. It is not cast for attack or defense, but sworn between 2 wizards, with a third acting as binder. The vow seals spoken promises in living magic. Break the oath, and death follows instantly. This transforms words into chains, binding the future as tightly as any curse. The attraction lies in certainty. Where trust falters, the Unbreakable Vow forces it. Families, allies, or conspirators have used it to guarantee loyalty or silence, leaving no room for betrayal. Severus Snape's vow with Narcissa Malfoy is the clearest example. Once spoken, he was locked into protecting Draco and completing a task that could cost him everything. But what makes it so feared is how unforgiving it is. The magic leaves no escape route, no loophole, no mercy. If the promise is broken, the punishment is not symbolic but literal, striking with immediate death. Even casting it is dangerous. To swear lightly is to gamble with one's life. Hogwarts forbids its teaching because young witches and wizards might wield it recklessly, swearing themselves into impossible situations without understanding the cost. A spell that binds words to death is more dangerous than any duel because it lingers long after the wand has been lowered. Legilimency. Legilimency is the art of slipping past another's defenses and reading the mind directly. To the caster, thoughts, memories, and emotions become accessible as if pages in an open book. The temptation is obvious, to know what someone truly thinks without question, to strip away secrets, to uncover lies. Wizards have used it for interrogation, manipulation, and even silent dominance in everyday conversation. The danger, however, is that the spell is rarely gentle. To those untrained, the intrusion feels like a force tearing through the mind, leaving the victim exposed and shaken. A skilled legilimens like Voldemort or Snape can go deeper, unearthing buried fears or weaponizing private truths. For the unprepared, it is as violating as physical assault, but invisible to witnesses. Defenses do exist. Occlumency, the practice of closing the mind against intrusion, can resist or block legilimency, though few master it. This makes the spell even more dangerous. Most witches and wizards lack the discipline to protect themselves. Hogwarts does not teach it because it undermines trust at its core. In a school setting, it would turn every classroom into a battleground of stolen answers and private humiliations. Memory charms. Memory charms are not inherently dark, yet their misuse makes them deeply dangerous. At their core, they are designed to alter or erase specific recollections in a person's mind. The most common form, Obliviate, wipes away memories cleanly, leaving no trace of what was lost. Wizards have long used it to hide the magical world from muggles, carefully editing away sightings of spells or creatures. But what begins as a safeguard can quickly turn sinister. To tamper with someone's memories is to rewrite their identity, reshaping how they understand themselves and the world around them. Gilderoy Lockhart turned the charm into a weapon for fame, erasing the achievements of others so he could claim them as his own. His failure against Ron Weasley's broken wand showed how fragile the spell can be, twisting instead of erasing, leaving minds fractured beyond repair. The true peril lies in subtlety. A memory altered without notice can change loyalties, erase crimes, or create false histories. Victims may never realize they've been tampered with, living entire lives based on illusions. At Hogwarts, teaching memory charms as a casual skill would open the door to abuse on every level, from erasing failed exams to silencing classmates. Such quiet power, hidden behind a smile, is too dangerous to hand to students. Blood magic. Blood has always carried power in the wizarding world, and spells that draw upon it belong to the most ancient and secretive traditions. Blood magic binds life itself into ritual, using sacrifice or kinship as the fuel for enchantments. The appeal lies in its permanence. Wards sealed with blood endure beyond ordinary charms, and protections rooted in family ties can outlast even death. Lily Potter's sacrifice is the clearest example. Her spilled blood wove a shield so strong that Voldemort could not touch Harry for years. But such power comes with grim costs. Many forms of blood magic demand pain or death, twisting natural bonds into tools of control. Dark wizards have used it to bind servants, curse enemies, or tether themselves to life in grotesque ways. Unlike charms or curses that can be dispelled, blood rituals linger, etched into the very fabric of the person or place they touch. The danger is that once invoked, blood magic rarely allows reversal. Its strength lies in its finality, and even the caster may not escape the consequences of their own ritual. Cursed objects. Cursed objects appear ordinary until touched, worn, or used. Then their true nature reveals itself. The charm behind them is crafted to bring misfortune, injury, or even death to anyone who interacts with them. For the creator, the goal is often subtle harm, to punish thieves, ensnare victims, or spread chaos without being directly present. Borgin and Burkes thrived on trading such items, their shelves stacked with cursed necklaces, biting cabinets, and hex trinkets designed to ruin lives quietly. The danger is in their disguise. Unlike openly cast curses, a cursed object waits, silent and patient until curiosity or necessity triggers it. Victims rarely see the attack coming, and identifying the source can take time even for skilled curse breakers. Some objects resist detection entirely, requiring advanced magic just to reveal the danger woven inside them. The consequences are often unpredictable. A cursed necklace meant for assassination nearly killed Katie Bell, while other artifacts lingered for decades, passing from one hand to another and leaving trails of suffering. Hogwarts forbids the practice because even a small mistake in crafting can backfire, harming the creator as easily as the target. Teaching young wizards to lace everyday items with malice would turn every common object in the castle into a potential trap. Maledictions. Maledictions are long-lasting hexes that cling to a victim, warping their body or life in ways ordinary counter-curses cannot easily undo. They are not quick attacks like jinxes or curses, but lingering afflictions that may last weeks, years, or even lifetimes. The infamous blood malediction that afflicted Astoria Greengrass is one such example. Passed down through her family line, it weakened her body beyond healing. For those who cast them, the appeal lies in their endurance. A duel ends, but a malediction continues to haunt the victim long after the wand has been lowered. Some are crafted to disfigure, others to debilitate, and some to shorten life itself. Unlike spells that leave obvious marks, maledictions often settle quietly, their effects unfolding over time in ways that make them difficult to trace back to the caster. The cruelty of maledictions is that they rarely end cleanly. A healer may be able to ease symptoms, but the curse often resists full removal, leaving scars of magic that never fade. At Hogwarts, teaching their design would mean giving students the ability to create suffering that outlasts any detention or punishment. Magic meant to linger in cruelty offers no lesson but harm, which is why it remains locked firmly in the realm of the forbidden. A curse that kills without fail, a spell that leaves no defense. Yet even Avada Kedavra has moments where it did not act as expected. From Dumbledore blocking it in the Ministry to Harry surviving it in the Forbidden Forest, the killing curse has a history of strange exceptions. To see every time Avada Kedavra behaved differently, watch this next.
Snape. Severus Snape.
Dumbledore!
Snape.